Hi friends, welcome back. Today we're going to be learning about equivalent fractions, so let's get started. I want you guys to stop, pause the video. I need you to get some paper, pencil, and remember to bring back those smart brains. Welcome back. You guys' learning objective today is that you are going to understand two fractions as equivalent, equal, if they are the same size. Don't worry if that confused you because we're going to learn about it a little bit later on in these slides. So let's think. On that paper out in front of you, I want you guys to jot down some ideas or what you think this question means. Are you ready? Does anyone know what equivalent means? On that paper in front of you, write down what equivalent means, what you think it means to you. So I bet most of you guys had on your paper, when you look at the word equivalent, you kind of see the word equal forming, and you guys all know that equal is when you take something and each side has the same amount. You guys are correct. That is what equivalent means. So let's dig a little bit deeper. Does anyone know what an equivalent fraction is? Remember what we just learned about the word equivalent, equal. So now you have equal fraction. What does an equal fraction mean? Think out loud. By definition, equivalent fractions are fractions with different numbers representing the same part of a whole. They have different numerators and denominators, but their fraction values are the same. For example, think about the fraction 1/2. It means half of something. You can also say that it is 6/12 is half, and that 50/100 is half. But in our terms, equivalent fractions are when fractions with different numbers equal the same amount. In that previous slide, you heard the word half being used a lot. So what is half? Half is when we take something and we cut it in half, or we move stuff around so both sides equal the same amount. So when you say half, that thing that you're cutting in half or moving apart, both sides are going to be the same amount, which in other words, they're going to be equal. So for this slide, we have half fractions are equivalent to other half fractions. So we're going to learn today about half fractions. So for an example about the word half, because it's very important that we learn and we understand what that means. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to order a pizza for Megan and I. I cut that pizza in half. It is 12 slices. I cut that pizza in half. I'm going to give 6 to Megan, and I'm going to have 6 for me. Is 6 and 6 the same? Yes, they are equal. So that means I'm going to be happy and Megan's going to be happy because we both got the equal amount. So now I'm going to order another pizza, and it is 12 slices again. And I'm going to give myself 8 slices and Megan 4 slices. Is that half? Do we both get the same amount? No, I get 8 slices and she only gets 4. So I'm pretty happy, but I bet Megan's pretty sad over there because she didn't get the same amount as me. And I bet you guys use the word half a lot with your friends when you're trying to split something up between you guys so you get the same amount. So let's get started. Right over here, we're going back to a pizza example. You have the number fraction at the bottom to look at. We have 1/2 of a pizza and 4/8 of a pizza. The question is, are these two equivalent fractions? The answer is yes, but let me tell you how. So we have 1/2. We know half fractions means they are equal fractions. Obviously 1/2 is equal because it's literally saying 1/2. But I'm going to show you how we know that it's equal. So we look at that denominator, which is 2, and we're going to cut 2 in half. And I'm going to cut 2 in half, and I'm going to do 1 to Megan and 1 to me of whatever we want to be cutting in half. We'll say this whole pizza. She gets 1, and I get 1. We're both happy. Now we're going to do 4/8. What's half of 8, friends? 4. My friends over here, one person gets 4 and the other person gets 4, so they are both happy because they're getting the same amounts. Another way we can look at this is anything that is half is always going to have the decimal of 0.50. So 1/2 is equal to 0.50 and 4/8 is equal to 0.50. We know if we were to graph these on our friendly number lines we like to use, we know that they would be at the same exact spot at 0.50 because they are equal. So let's look at this next one. We have 1/2 and we also have 2/4. Are these equal? Yes, they are, because we cut 2 in half. One person gets one and the other person gets one. And we do the same thing with 2/4. 4, you cut 4 in half. It is only 2, so that must mean they are equal. So now I didn't include the pictures in this one because I want you guys to just get familiar with the number and the fraction itself. So we have 1/2 over here and 2/4. Are these fractions equivalent to each other? Correct, they are equivalent to each other because they are both cut in half. If you have 2 of something, you cut it in half, one goes here and one goes here, both people are happy. Same with 4, if you take 4 and you cut 4 in half, they're going to go 2 and 2, everybody's happy. We know that half fractions are always 0.50 decimals, 0.50. We know that, so that must mean that these are both equivalent. Let's look at this one. We have 1/3 and 6/12. Ooh, that 1/3 looks a little bit different to us. Is 1/3 an equivalent fraction? It is not an equivalent fraction, and let me tell you how. If you have 2 people and you have 3 slices of pizza, how are you going to make that the same amount between you and your friend? You're not going to, because you can't split up 3 slices of pizza between 2 people evenly. So that means this is not an equivalent fraction. In other words, we cannot cut it in half. We have 6/12. Can we cut 12 in half? Yes, we can. And what is half of 12? 6. So we know that this is an equivalent fraction, but 1/3 is not. So that means these two fractions are not equivalent to each other. Now I want you guys to tell me if these are equivalent or not. You can use your scrap paper below. You can draw some symbols out, whatever you want to draw. You can draw whatever you want, donuts, pizza, squares, triangles, or you can also think this through out loud. You could also grab manipulatives to use at home if you have M&Ms or Smarties or anything like that, cereal. That's always fun too. So let's get started. Are these equivalent or not equivalent? You have 1/2 and 6/12. Equivalent or not? Correct, these are equivalent because we can cut them both in half. We have 3/6 and 1/2. Equivalent or not? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Correct, these are equivalent. Over here we have 1/3 and 6/12. Sorry guys, 1/3 and 6/12. Think about that one. Is it equivalent or not equivalent? Correct, it is not equivalent. And why? Great, because we know that we cannot cut 3 in half evenly. So 1/3 is not an equivalent fraction. But 6/12 is. But we are comparing 1/3 and 6/12 together, so that means they are not equivalent. Here's a tricky one for you guys. I gave you a picture diagram and a fraction itself. I'll cut down this picture diagram with you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 boxes. That is going to be our denominator. And we have 2 shaded. That's going to be our numerator. So our new fraction is 2/4 and 5/10. Think that one through. Are these equivalent? Yes, they are, because you can cut them both in half evenly, because half means evenly. Here's another challenge for you guys. Now you're comparing 4 fractions, and you need to tell me if they're equivalent or not. You have 1/2, 2/4, 3/6, and 4/8. I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about this one. Correct, these are equivalent because all of these fractions are cut in half, and they are all equal. Do you guys think you could solve this problem? Here we go. Mr. Dolan is looking to learn about equivalent fractions. Could you help him out and find something at home to help explain fractions to him? I need you to find 2 things around your house that are or look like equal fractions. For an example, computer, your ceiling, wallpaper, different patterns, food items, anything you can think of. Okay? Once you get those 2 once you get those two separate things, you're going to see if they are equivalent or not equivalent, which secret they should be because you are looking for equivalent fractions. Okay, so I'm going to show you my example that I found. I found my makeup palette. I'm going to save you time and save me time. There are 12 different shadows over here. If I were to cut this in half, I would cut it right here, meaning I'd have 6 over here and 6 over here. So my fraction would be 6 over 12, meaning that is an equivalent fraction. Because if I were to split this up with a friend, she would get 12 shadows and I would get 12 shadows. And here's another one for you. My friend and I need a napkin. This one's very simple. You can do this one too at home. But my friend and I, we need a napkin, but we only have one napkin. What could we do? Correct. We could split our napkin in half. Half is 1 over 2, but we call it 1/2. So I'm going to split this in half, and I'm going to give half to my friend and half to myself. Okay? Keep up the good work. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. Finish strong. And I had a fun time learning with you guys today. You did a great job. Bye.